Ladies and gentlemen, the genius son of a black cleaning lady solved a $100 million problem in seconds, but when he saw the CEO reaction, he realized he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Marcus Williams, 19, never imagined that delivering a pizza to the 20th floor of Technova Solutions would turn into the most humiliating moment of his existence. As he waited for his payment at the reception desk, his eyes were fixed on the giant screen where dozens of engineers were frantically discussing a flawed algorithm that was costing the company millions a day. "My God, they're using the completely wrong data structure," he muttered, watching the code projected on the wall. The receptionist, a blonde woman in high heels, rolled her eyes. "Sure, the pizza delivery guy knows advanced programming." What a joke! Marcus ignored the sarcasm, but couldn't take his eyes off the screen. The error was as obvious to him as breathing. A simple reorganization of the binary tree and the implementation of distributed hashing would solve everything in a matter of seconds. "Excuse me," he said, addressing the group of executives passing through the lobby. "That algorithm there, you're using linear search where you should be using hash indexing. That's why it's crashing." The silence was deafening. 12 men in suits stared at the young black man in a delivery uniform as if he had just spoken in an alien language. Richard Blackstone, the company's CEO, a 50-year old man with perfectly combed gray hair, laughed a low, cruel laugh. "Kid, do you have any idea how many PhDs in computer science have been working on this project for the last 6 months?" Marcus felt the heat rise in his neck, but he kept his voice steady. "I know you've lost 97 million so far because the system crashes every 200,000 simultaneous queries." Blackstone's laughter died in his throat. That specific number had not been made public, and how the hell would you know that? Asked the Vice President of Technology, Dr. Harrison, approaching suspiciously. Marcus took a deep breath. His mother, Rosa Williams, had been cleaning these offices for 15 years. During the early mornings while she worked, he did his homework in the empty rooms, unintentionally absorbing technical conversations and documents left on the desks, but revealing that would humiliate his mother even more. "Just observation," he replied simply. Blackstone crossed his arms, a wicked smile forming on his lips. "All right, little genius. If you're so smart, prove it. Solve our problem." The challenge echoed through the lobby like a sentence. All eyes turned to Marcus, some amused, others clearly expecting an epic humiliation. What none of them knew was that this young pizza delivery boy had been accepted to Stanford at 16, but had turned down the scholarship to care for his diabetic mother. Marcus looked at the screen, then at the expectant faces around him. Something flashed in his eyes, not fear, but a quiet determination that made some of those present realize that they might have seriously underestimated the person standing before them. "All right," he said, pulling a battered smartphone from his pocket. "But when I get this sorted out, I want you all to remember that you judged a book by its cover. If this story of prejudice and overcoming adversity touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to find out how a simple moment of humiliation would become the catalyst for a revolution that no one would ever forget." Dr. Harrison laughed loudly, a sound that echoed through the lobby like breaking glass. "This is going to be better than comedy. Someone call security to film when he falls flat on his face." Marcus watched as a small crowd gathered around the screen. Employees appeared from every floor, whispering and pointing at the pizza delivery guy who had dared to challenge decades of engineering expertise. 15 minutes, Blackstone declared, consulting his gold Rolex. "If you can't even improve our performance by 10%, I want you out of here and never to come back, and take your mother with you." Marcus' blood ran cold. How did Blackstone know about his mother? "Oh yes," the CEO continued with a venomous smile. "Rosa Williams, our night cleaning lady for the past 15 years, hard-working woman, but perhaps it's time for mandatory retirement, especially if she finds out she raised a lying son." The humiliation burned in Marcus' chest like acid. His mother had sacrificed everything, nights of sleep, her health, her dreams, so that he could study. She had worked 3 jobs after his father abandoned them, cleaning offices until the wee hours of the morning, while Marcus did his homework in the dark corners of corporate buildings. "Problem, kid?" Blackstone asked, noticing the tension on Marcus's face. "Still want to play programmer?" Marcus took a deep breath, remembering the words his mother always repeated. "Son, when they try to humiliate you, it's because they're afraid of what you're capable of." "You can start timing me," Marcus said, approaching the terminal. The blonde receptionist, Sarah, according to her ID, filmed everything with her cell phone. "This is going to go viral," she whispered to a colleague. "Influencer doing a tech challenge." Marcus ignored the comments and focused on the screen. The system was even more complex than he had imagined. Layers upon layers of poorly optimized code, like a house built without a proper foundation. But his trained eyes, forged by nights studying in public libraries and free tutorials on the internet, identified the pattern immediately. As he typed, he remembered all the times he had been underestimated. At school, where teachers treated him like just another lost case from the suburbs. At the Stanford exam, where the interviewer questioned whether he really belonged there in his own decision to turn down the full scholarship when everyone told him he was wasting his only chance to escape poverty. 10 minutes, announced Blackstone, clearly expecting to witness an epic failure. Dr. Harrison approached, watching the code Marcus was writing. His confident expression began to waver. "Wait, that can't be right." Marcus had completely restructured the data architecture in less than 8 minutes. Where there had been 300 lines of confusing code, there were now 47 elegant and efficient lines. "What did you do?" asked a curly-haired engineer, genuinely curious. "I treated the system like I would treat a family budget," Marcus replied without taking his eyes off the screen. "When you have little, you learn to do a lot. I cut out everything that was superfluous and organized the essentials." Blackstone approached, his smile beginning to fade. "That's impossible. Our best minds have been working on this project for 6 months. Maybe the problem wasn't the minds," Marcus said calmly, "but the perspectives. When you've never had to make a dollar last a week, it's hard to understand real efficiency." The tension in the air was palpable. Employees exchanged nervous glances, realizing that something unexpected was happening. 5 minutes, Blackstone muttered, but his voice had lost its previous confidence. Marcus finished the last lines of code and stepped away from the terminal. "Done. You can test it." Dr. Harrison hesitated, then started the simulation. The screen flashed, numbers cascaded down, and then total silence. The system had processed 200,000 simultaneous queries in 3 seconds, 0 crashes, 0 errors. That's not possible," someone whispered in the crowd. Marcus looked directly at Blackstone. 97% improvement in performance, 90% reduction in processing time. The monthly cost of the servers should be cut in half. The lobby was deathly silent. Sarah had stopped filming, her mouth agape. Even the arrogant receptionist seemed to have swallowed her tongue. Blackstone clenched his fists, his face red with anger and humiliation. "That was luck, a trick. You copied that from somewhere. I can do it again from scratch if you want," Marcus offered calmly. "Or explain every line of code to your team. Maybe even give you a few lessons in system optimization." That was when Blackstone made his biggest mistake. Completely losing his composure, he shouted for the entire company to hear, "I will not be humiliated by a black pizza delivery boy." Security. "Get this bum out of here." The silence that followed was deafening. Dozens of cell phones had captured those words. The racism that Blackstone had disguised for years had just exploded in public. Marcus stood motionless, a barely perceptible smile on his lips. He had achieved exactly what he needed to. Not only had he solved the technical problem, but he had exposed the true nature of the man who ran that company. "Interesting," said Marcus, calmly picking up his backpack. "Because under state labor law, racial discrimination in the workplace is a federal crime. And considering that about 20 people filmed this, each new word that came out of Blackstone's mouth only dug deeper into the hole of his own destruction." While Marcus stood there with the serenity of someone who had just turned a moment of humiliation into the first piece of a much more complex game that was only just beginning, Blackstone's words still echoed through Technova when Marcus left the building. 20 minutes later, he found his mother, Rosa Williams, preparing dinner in the small apartment they had shared for 19 years. She looked at her son's face and immediately knew something had happened. "Tell me everything," she said, turning off the stove and sitting down at the scratched formica table. Marcus recounted every detail from the moment he saw the error in the code to Blackstone's racist words being filmed by dozens of people. Rosa listened silently, her eyes filling with tears of pride and concern. "My son," she said finally, "do you have any idea what you've just done?" "I've probably made the biggest mistake of my life," Marcus sighed. "I've exposed you, exposed myself, and now," Rosa interrupted firmly. "You've shown who you really are. And if this man thinks he can destroy our family after 15 years of me sweating to clean up his mistakes, he doesn't know the Williams family." She stood up and went to the closet, pulling out a dusty shoebox. Inside were letters, documents, and photographs. "Son, there are things about Technova you don't know, things I've seen during all these years of working nights." Marcus looked at the papers with growing surprise. Fraudulent contracts, printed emails about illegal dismissals, photographs of executives using drugs in the company bathrooms. "Mom, did you collect all this? When you're invisible," Rosa smiled sadly, "people talk and do things as if you don't exist. For 15 years, I saw and heard much more than I should have." The next day, Marcus received an unexpected call. "Hello, is this Marcus Williams? My name is David Chun. I'm an investigative journalist with Tech Watch News. I saw the video that went viral yesterday about your interaction with Richard Blackstone." Marcus hesitated. "I'm not sure I want to give interviews." "It's not an interview," David interrupted. "It's a proposal for collaboration. I've been investigating illegal labor practices at Technova for 2 years. I have inside sources who confirm a systematic pattern of discrimination, but I need more solid evidence." They met at a discreet cafe in the city center. David was a middle-aged man with graying hair and piercing eyes that revealed years of experience exposing corporate corruption. "Marcus, that video was just the tip of the iceberg," David explained, showing him a folder filled with documents. "Blackstone has a history of firing black employees for fabricated reasons, paying women less than men for identical jobs, and using questionable accounting schemes to avoid taxes." Marcus flipped through the documents, recognizing some names of former employees his mother had mentioned over the years. "What do you need from me? Inside access. Your mother has worked there for 15 years. You have exceptional technical skills, and now Blackstone has made the mistake of publicly underestimating you. He'll try to cover up the video scandal, but if we can get additional evidence, we can destroy him completely." Marcus finished, a determined gleam appearing in his eyes. Meanwhile, at Technova's offices, Blackstone had called an emergency meeting with his legal and public relations departments. The video had surpassed 200 views in less than 24 hours. "I want that kid and his mother out of my sight by the end of the week," he raged. "And I want someone to find a way to invalidate the solution he created. There must be a mistake somewhere." Dr. Harrison, who had remained unusually quiet since the incident, finally spoke up. "Richard, maybe we should consider offering the boy a position. He clearly has talent, and it could help with our public image." "Are you crazy?" Blackstone exploded. "I'm not going to reward some arrogant kid who humiliated me in public. Find a way to get rid of him, or I'll find people who can." What Blackstone didn't know was that Dr. Harrison had discreetly recorded the entire conversation on his phone. Years of observing the CEO questionable practices had finally reached a breaking point when he witnessed genuine talent being rejected out of pure prejudice. That night, Harrison called a number David Chun had given Marcus. "I have something you guys will want to hear," he said simply. Over the next few days, Marcus was transformed. During the day, he continued to deliver pizzas and maintain the appearance of normally, but at night, he worked with David and now Harrison to methodically document every irregularity at Technova. They uncovered a frightening pattern: overpriced software development contracts for shell companies, minority employees being systematically